All right, so we are going to continue on 421 at the top. We're going to do one example before this quiz. I'm going to have to do it pretty quickly given the time. But I was enjoying you guys working on those problems together because you're having good conversations. So I extend a little bit. So here's what you know. Given cotangent of theta is equal to 4 over 5. And this will help you with the quiz a little bit. Where pi is less than theta, which is less than 3 pi over 2. You need to find all 6 trig ratios. So now not only sine, cosine, and tangent, cosecant, secant, and cotangent. So here's where we're going to start. I'm going to have you think about this in your head. That's your domain. If you look at this number, thumbs up, thumbs down, is 4 over 5 on the unit circle? Thumbs down, right? So can we use the unit circle? No. We need to go to drawing a triangle, but we have to figure out which quadrant it's in. This tells you what quadrant it's in. Think about it to yourself. Don't say it out loud. Show me in your hand what quadrant are we working with if we're going from pi to 3 pi over 2. Think about where pi is. It's right here, right? Where's 3 pi over 2? What quadrant is this? Quadrant 3. That's where we're drawing the triangle. This is your domain. Okay? So now we can go ahead and set up our axes. We're going to build a triangle in quadrant 3. And we're going to use theta as our angle measure. There it is. Now the next part's for you guys. Well, actually, before we do this, I want you to do this on your own because this will help give some of you a framework. Here's your angle. I want you to label each side opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. Because some of you are still having a hard time with this. So which side's the opposite, which side's the hypotenuse, which side's the adjacent? Raphael, what's this side right here? Good. Moy, what about this one? And Jamia, what about this guy down here? Perfect. All right. This gives you some framework to work within. The only information I gave you is this. Go ahead, figure out where to put those numbers, and figure out the missing side. I'll give you a couple minutes with your group. Bring it back for the sake of time. Cotangent is related to tangent, and it's just tangent flipped over, right? So then this would make tangent 5 over 4. Is one way to think about it. And tangent is SOHCAHTOA, opposite over adjacent. So my opposite side is 5, and my adjacent side is 4. So here's another, I mean, there's different ways to think about this, but you're going to have to refer to SOHCAHTOA for this. How do I find the missing side? Pythagorean theorem. I'll work this out. You guys probably already are working on it. We can finish it together. It's not a pretty number. I do not want you to use a calculator. I want you to leave it as a square root of 41. So your final answer for this missing side is radical 41. We're good. Now, here is a subtlety that's very important to point out. Otherwise, if you do want to totally master this, it's important what quadrant this is in because it tells you what the signs are. If we're in quadrant 3, this is not a positive 4. We're going to the left. And this 5 is going down. So these numbers are both negative. Drop negatives in there. And the cool thing about this does not change anything. Because cotangent's still positive, right? A negative over a negative is a positive. Let's go back to all students take calculus. All students take. What's the only ratio that's positive in the quadrant 3? Tangent or cotangent. Because they're related to each other, right? They're just flipped. Okay? So this is a way of checking yourself. You've done all the hard work, now we just get to write the ratios. We have 6 of them, and I'm going to line them up for you like this. It'll be easier for you to think. of them and if they're ordered this way. So sine of theta, cosine of theta, tangent of theta. And then right next to it, you're going to put cosecant of theta, secant of theta, and cotangent of theta. And this is kind of the point Moy brought up earlier, but now here's a visual way of seeing it. Sine and cosecant are related to each other. Cosine and secant are related to each other. Once we find these three, all we need to do is flip them over, and we can find the other three. Can you find all these now? So Katoa, go ahead, write in the ratios. Here are the first three ratios. What are the problem with the first two, though? You got to rationalize. So make sure you're multiplying by rad 41 over 41. Here's another reason to label opposite hypotenuse adjacent, because then you're just literally plugging this stuff in. So now we will get here. I know this is not the prettiest answer in the world, but it's the exact answer. And then 5 over 4. Make sure you're getting those signs, okay? So here's our final answer, final answer, final answer. Now here's the beauty of the reciprocals. We're just going to flip them over. But are you going to want to flip over this guy? What's problematic about flipping over this one? Radicals on the bottom. So which one are we going to want to flip over?
The first one.
Right here. If I flip this one over, am I good? These are the same thing. So just flip it over, flip this one over, flip this one over, you're done with the other three, because it's just a reciprocal. And here's a good way of checking. We're in quadrant 3. The only one that's positive in quadrant 3 is tangent and cotangent. Are all the rest negative? Good. I got time for like one question, but then we got to take a quiz. One question? One really good question? Clarification question? You'll have a problem somewhere to this on your quiz. We will practice more on this. Don't worry. Okay. Yeah, one.
I have a question about